Hello and welcome to this episode of Creating Photos and Videos. A little bit of an update on my jump back into using 360 cameras. So I say jump back into because back in November of 2017 I got one of the early Insta360 ONE cameras, 360 cameras, and experimented in using that. And I'll put a link up above to one of my first videos in experimenting with that, because I had the same ideas then as I do now for why I want to use a 360 camera. And it really is in line with the promos that Insta360 gives out, and that is it's like having a camera crew in your pocket. And I believe that's probably true. So I finally got my Insta360. A little bit of a sad story. The first one I got just was defective, at least, or I was just too novice at it to get the display screen to display continuously. And I think it was defective because I then immediately ordered a second one after returning that one, and this one's working fine. So this is the Insta360 ONE X2 360 camera, and it has there are lots of videos online about this camera, its features and everything, but it has this display, and that display was just going blank on the first camera I received. And it's really very easy to use, so that's great. First issue for me, before really starting to use the 360 camera, was to establish what's the best way to get audio. So one of the first things, of course, is to think of using an external recorder and then syncing up the audio from the recorder that has a lavalier mic attached to it, and you get very crisp audio doing that. So that's one option, but it does involve syncing, as I said, after the fact, and that can sometimes be a bit of a pain. So I did buy the very tiny mic adapter for the ONE X2, and I'll use that in a minute. This turns out to be probably one of the best things I bought with the camera. I tried several things, and I'm going to give you a sample of that. And the first one, I want to see what does it sound like if I just use the built-in mics. It has a mic on all four sides of the camera, which is kind of cool. And what's that going to sound like compared to using my AirPods, which work quite well, I think. I shouldn't say quite well. They worked well. And then finally, I tried a lavalier mic, a wired lavalier mic plugged right into the mic adapter port, and that worked excellent, naturally, because the sound's going right into the camera. But before we go into my next thing that I tried, let's take a look at or listen to the three different things: built-in mics, AirPods, and then a direct connect with a wired lavalier. So let's listen to that. Okay, I'm just using the regular onboard mics to see what the audio sounds like. Okay, it's recording now, and it is using the AirPods, so we'll see how this sounds compared to the other. Okay, it's recording now, and I have a lavalier mic installed through the mic adapter. Let's see how this sounds. Should be pretty good. Okay, so what do you think? I think the wired lavalier probably was the best one, so that led me then to try one other thing, which is to use a Comica mic set that I have. And this is a very cool set, but it's specifically for using a smartphone. And so this goes on top of a tripod. The phone goes in here, the smartphone goes in here, and it has a cable, and you plug that into the phone, and it becomes a receiver to this transmitter, which you wear on your person, just as I'm doing now with a different Comica mic setup that I again have mentioned before. And this then is, you plug a lavalier into this, and you put it in your pocket or on your belt, and that works fine. So what I did, as you'll see in this next video, is I connected this, I didn't connect it, I secured it to the tripod, and it did dangle a little bit, but it was okay. and plugged it into the mic adapter port. And so this was the receiver and this was the transmitter, and I was doing the same thing I'm really doing right now. It's just that the Comica receiver for this plugs directly into an iPhone and gets its power from the iPhone. So that is how I set this up, and let's listen to that. Okay, my final test. I've got a Comica wireless mic set up. The receiver is connected to the Insta360 ONE X2 camera via the mic adapter, and I've got a transmitter in my pocket which has a lavalier attached to it, and I think I'm getting decent sound. In fact, from all of the tests I've done, I think this next to the AirPods is the best solution. I can be in the next room, you can still hear me, and I can come back in and you can hear me and you can see me. So this is encouraging. And it doesn't matter that the receiver is so big on the pole because of the way I'm going to use this. So it's not going to show up. I don't need the invisible selfie stick strategy. Okay, pretty good, huh? Well, that I think is the way I'm going to go. Now I just have to think of a little more elegant way to attach it to the tripod. Although, as I say in the video, it doesn't really matter because I'm not using the whole selfie stick setup. That is to say, the invisible selfie stick setup. Because really all I care about is that I get good sound and that this is capturing the 360 environment, and it would be in between me and what I'm painting or sketching, or what I'm talking about when I'm doing photography training. So that's the intended use, and that's how I'm going to approach audio. And so I hope that's helpful if any of you are looking at getting a 360 camera, this one specifically, and considering how you're going to get the best audio you can get. You'll always get the best audio really probably with an external recorder. But my final test with the Comica wireless mic setup, I think, was quite satisfactory and provides me with audio that I'm very happy with. So that's what I'm going to go with. So more to come because I'm really starting to experiment with this. It's cold outside. It's raining right now. So I can't really go outside and try it, but I'm going to try something in the house to experiment with my planned use of the Insta360 ONE X2. Thank you for checking in, and I'll see you in the next video. So I got one a week after the last one, so I'm back on track here for a little bit. Goodbye.